bug.
The Stranglers' career has spanned 14 years, during which the band proved themselves as the missing link between pub rock and punk rock. With Jean-Jacques Bonnel on bass, Hugh Cornwell on guitar and vocals, Dave Greenfield on keyboards and Jet Black on drums, they've progressed from having Hell's Angels as tour managers to directing videos with famed Czech animators. Back in May 1977, the band released their first video, Peaches, taken from their gravelly debut album, Ratus Norvegicus.
Walking on the beaches, looking at the fishes. Well, there goes another one just lying down on the sand dunes. I better go take a swim and see if I can cool down a little bit. You be a woman without a lot of things on our mind. Walking on the beaches, looking at the fishes. Well, I got the notion, girl, that you got some suntan lotion, that body of yours. Spread it all over my peeling foreskin, baby. That feels real good. All this skirt, lapping up the sun, wrap me up. Why don't you come and wrap me up? Walking on the beaches, looking at the fishes. Well, you just take a look out there. Well, is she trying to get out of that clitoris? Liberation for women, that's what I preach, preacher man. Walking on the beaches, looking at the fishes. Oh, shit! Well, there goes the sheriff man. Looks like I'm gonna be stuck in a whole summer. Well, what a bummer. I can think of a lot worse places to be. Like waiting around in London, hoping to get permission for just an afternoon. Just need all the pictures. Down on the picture, just need all the ostriches. Down on the picture, just need all the ostriches. Down on the picture, just need all the beaches. Down on the picture, just need all the stop bitches. Down on the picture, just need all the beaches. Down on the pictures.
Looking back now at those spiky punk years, how did the Stranglers start?
Well, we spent the first 2 years playing in every possible army camp and holiday camp in England, Wales and Scotland, and bar and pub, in order to make a living in an ice cream van. And we'd go off on these tours of Cornwall and Devon for a week and come back with like £2 each, you know, and we'd managed to stay alive all that time, sleeping in fields and things like this. It was very bizarre. And then when our first record came out, surprise to a lot of people, which it was a great surprise, it went straight to number 4, I think, the LP, because and the record company said it was selling all over the country. It wasn't just selling in London, where we were playing a lot, but it was selling all over the country. And the reason was because all this time we'd been playing in these places, and all these people were waiting for the first record to come. And then we got involved in the whole punk explosion, which was fine by us because it was a lot of publicity and a lot of attention, and all those sort of things are very important to a career if you're in music. And then all that died down, and we managed to come up with the right thing at the right time, and have had a few big hits since then, and at the right time always.
special panzer. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to all of the heroes? All the Shakespeareos? They watch their own burn. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? No more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore. Whatever happened to all of the heroes? All the Shakespeareos? They watch their own burn. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? No more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore.
The Stranglers have always been notorious for their grueling schedules, and in 1976 they played over 200 gigs. In later years, they also pioneered touring in places like Iceland and Poland. When they played in Reykjavik in 1979, it was the most well-attended event since the International Chess Championships. But of course, the schedules took their toll.
Yeah, you had no other outlet, so it was very exciting as well. But I mean, you do. I think that sort of thing you can only do once, you know, and you learn from it, and then you go on to other things. I hate repeating myself, you know, in every possible form, and it would seem like that, I think. Chrissy Hine wanted to lead sing for us, and at the time I was most put out because I was trying my best to be lead singing most of the time, and the manager came up and said, this girl, she's really good singing, she wants to lead sing. I said, what do you mean singer? Yeah, we got a singer. No, I didn't say a proper singer, but, oh, you mean he said a proper singer? Yeah, she's good voice, but at the time it wasn't what any of us wanted to hear. When you get 500 letters a week asking you what happened, you think, well, hang on, this is the 100th letter I've written now saying exactly the same thing, so it didn't seem much, it was much better just to get it all done in one, and then if anyone wanted to know, then they could have a little book, you know.
What sort of things were people asking?
The normal things people ask. What's it like, you know? What are the saunas like in there? And do you get a sunbed every week? And is the salmon fresh?
Too many teardrops for one heart to be crying. Too many teardrops for one heart to carry on. You went on top now since you left me. You're always laughing just a little while, and then I'm gonna put you way down here, and you start crying, and 96 tears.
The band were also involved in a series of sensationalist scams, everything from dressing up in drag with leather miniskirts and beehives to having strippers on their live shows.
We just wanted to play music, and things people goad you on, and they put you in a situation, and I'm sure this has happened to you as well, and you find yourself manipulated. You suddenly find that something's happened, or you've done so, you've been fooled into, hoodwinked into doing something, and then suddenly you've got to suffer the consequences of it. And
normally a lot more record sales.
It's basically these horrible media people push you into those sort of situations, the press mainly, and then you find that you're suffering for a long time afterwards, because if you meet people, all they will want to talk about is these incidents that other members of their profession set up in the first place.
And are nothing to do with
very
anything.
Frustrating. Very frustrating for the artiste.
Do you remember that tight group when all the equipment got stolen?
Yeah.
That was I reckon that was a really low point. It could quite easily have all folded up then, but we decided it was silly. We were still alive. The equipment had gone, but we were still alive, so...
So we get on real fine with each other. With us, obviously, we must have egos, but I guess not one of the egos that treads on someone else's. No one treads on anyone's toes. We all know what we're good at and what we're not so good at. No problem there. So we're friends. First of all, we're not a marketing concept like maybe a lot of the newer bands are more marketing concepts with all divisions of labour that implies. You know, people designing their clothes and deciding how they look, choosing who's going to be in the band, writing songs. We're kind of much more homogenous.
Not really. Lots of people have had longer careers than that and still been, managed to sell records. It's just we just seem to have had an ability to come up with the right thing at the right time. I mean, that was a perfect time to come out with All Day and All the Night, and I think immediately afterwards one or two other artists came out with cover versions of Kink songs. We just got there first. It was the right time, you know. It's
Why
timing.
Not particularly. I mean, we had a few things in common with quite a lot of things in common with the bands at the time. In fact, a lot of them were coming to see us before they formed their own bands. So we had a lot of things in common. But we were a bit older than them, and by the time they had recording deals and we had recording deals, we'd evolved that much more. We had a keyboard as well, and we had a great keyboard player, really. So our songs and everything was that much in advance of them. But we didn't have any problem. We were associated with them, so you can't deny that. But on the other hand, we were the first two albums were similar, but they were done in the same session. And every album since then was quite drastically different, whether it was from the song point of view or because of the technology we were using at the time. Jet was a jazz drummer originally until we taught him how to hit on the offbeat, with a bit of strength on the snare, because he was very light on the snare. And Dave and Jet were musicians before they became sculptors, but Hugh and I weren't too hot on playing music. We learnt as we went along. But yeah, we've been listening to an awful lot of jazz, but just to give more ideas, because rock can just become nombrilism, as the French say, just going around in circles around your little belly button. It's just can be a bit vacuous.
To us, they weren't. Then the ones we write now aren't any more meaningful than they were at the beginning. But I think that what happens is the public decides at a certain point. They say, "Oh right, now what's the date today? Okay, right. From now on, the Stranglers are going to be a serious thinking man's," and they actually, I don't know who it is, the press or suddenly the whole mood of. I mean, that's why fashion happens, because suddenly the things have been there all the time, but suddenly. This week, we're all going to look at this. And I was talking about this to a friend of mine the other day, a filmmaker. He said, we were saying, isn't it strange? Suddenly you can be, everyone wants to ring you up and wants you to do things. And the thing is, you've been doing exactly the same thing for the last 5 years. And 5 years ago, they couldn't see you. It was made with a Czech animator called Jan Schwankmeyer, who's a bit unknown really outside, well, anywhere outside of his own house. because he was refused. Wasn't allowed to make any films in Czechoslovakia for about 10 years, during which time he just used to write and read books and write stories. And he's just recently becoming well known in the West for some of his films, which have been winning prizes and things. I mean, he doesn't know anything about pop music or rock music, doesn't like music, and it took a long time to persuade him to do it. I don't think he'll make another clip either, but I'm glad I got him in the end. Stranglers have got such a very defined style and image, which has taken obviously a long time to evolve. So it was hard for me to do something outside of that. But at the same time, I really wanted it to be different, because otherwise, if people say, "Oh yeah, that sounds just like the Stranglers," there'd be no point in doing it at all. So, but that isn't really the reason why it took so long. The reason it took so long is because I had to fit in with Stranglers' commitments, tours, things like this, records. When the records really didn't want any records being released at the same time, because that would be counterproductive for everybody. And then I had to find people to work with, producers, who were prepared to work in this stop-start fashion. A lot of people don't want to do that. But in the end, it's all finished now.
that wasn't ate was spread around the world. No one would have to work a single day. If all the money in the banks was spread to boy and girl, no one could then complain about their pay. Facts and figures, filling up the pages every day. Facts and figures, spilling out of papers every day. Upon the roads, the accidents, they're robbers of the few. Wars, they take away so many more. As long as we don't know them, they remain upon the page, next to a history book picture that you saw. Facts and figures, filling up the pages every day.
All of the Day and All of the Night was a cover version the Stranglers did well before the success of 96 Tears. But why do a Kinks song?
It was Jean-Jacques' idea. He's got a passion at the moment for the old, some of the old 60s rhythm and blues classics, and we needed something to come out with, to coincide with the live LP. And rather than release a live track, he suggested that we do a version of that, and it sounded like a good idea.
I'm not content to be with you in the daytime. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time. The only time I feel alright is by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. I believe with you and me lasts forever. Oh yeah, all day and night and yours leave me never. The only time I feel alright is by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. I believe that you and me last forever. Oh yeah, all day and night and yours leave me never. The only time I feel alright is by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. 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 All day.
We've always been pretty embarrassing. We've embarrassed ourselves a few times, and Monolithic, yeah, maybe. But I mean, if you're talking about keeping fresh, we've, I think we've managed to escape going stale, just because we've taken care not to live in a vacuum. You know, by definition, when you live in a vacuum, you lack fresh air and you eventually suffocate. And we've always, I mean, the songwriting process for a start is not. We don't write songs all the time. we have periods, 6 months, 9 months without attempting to write a song. So when we get back down to it, it's much more of a sudden change in style, maybe. And also, we try to make sure that we don't repeat ourselves. And also, we do a lot of outside things separate from each other. We don't live music all the time. You know, I teach a bit. I teach 6 hours a week still. Hugh's still doing lots of other things. Try to live outside of the vacuum as much as possible.
When you first started with the Stranglers, did you see it as a long-term project?
Yeah, about 6 months. No, I mean, when you started, you have no idea. If people say to you, how long do you say, well, what I used to say was, well, I'm going to do it until it works, you know, because I'm very disciplined, and I get an idea to do something and I don't stop until it's done. I'm a very hard worker, and as long as you have that sort of conviction about things, I think you can achieve anything. So at the time, it was, people said, how long is you going to be doing this for? Until it works, you know, until it's a success.